I think we're in El Zante, El Salvador, and we are live from El Salvador, right out to you wherever you are around the world.
Yeah, as promised. We said we were going to do our next live event show right here in El Zonte, El Salvador, which is where we are exactly. You know, we were both out in the ocean this morning, and the water is beautiful. It's warm. The waves are delicious. The beach is glorious. And I mean, this is paradise.
This is paradise. I can't believe more people aren't here. I can't believe it took us so long to discover El Salvador, and I'm so looking forward to becoming Salvadoran because I feel Salvadoran. I eat Salvadoran. I dream Salvadoran. I breathe Salvadoran.
That's right. And yesterday we actually made pupusas in the kitchen, and they came out pretty well. I think yours probably came out better than mine, but they tasted pretty good.
There was a song I learned that went something like, Me gustan pupusas, los pupusas. So actually tell us in the comments because, you know, I need to know if the audio is okay for you, if you're hearing it, if it's loud enough, if you can see us. You know, we're at our resort where we are here in Bitcoin Beach, El Zante, El Salvador. You will probably see half naked women walking by in the background. You know, they're going to the pool over here. And so I need a trusted source out there listening to this, if you can hear this okay. And I'm going to look here. Max is going to talk to you about his impressions about El Salvador, what he has experienced while I look at your comments.
Yeah, well, as I was saying, you know, the beach is fantastic. So this is Bitcoin Beach, and everybody takes Bitcoin. Everyone knows Bitcoin. Everyone knows all the Bitcoiners. It's like a village where everyone knows everybody else, and everybody's into Bitcoin. Certainly everybody knows us, and so we've met everybody here. And we took surfing lesson, so that was the beginning of my voyage into surfing. So I hope to do more. And it was, I think, just the sun comes up and it's incredibly powerful. Nature. It's just, you know, you feel so infused with nature. It's tough to have an existential crisis when you're just part of nature. I'm part of the coconut tree. I'm just part of the sky. I don't see. I'm not a part. I'm not part.
So, as I was saying, we're here in El Salvador, and it's Hyperbitcoinization happening here. The Volcano bond is happening, as you might have seen from our Twitter stream over at Orange Pill Pod or at Max Kaiser on Twitter. You would have seen us taking the helicopter up to Berlin, which is the you know, the active geothermal plant where they do have a small operating Bitcoin mining operation. It's a small one, but this is like them. It's like a test net for them. We also did get to fly over Bitcoin City, where the future is Bitcoin, and that was exciting. It's super, super, super beautiful. I am just stunned. It was my first time in a helicopter. I was really scared ahead of time, but you know what? It was so smooth and so easy and so comfortable. I just want to start flying on helicopters all the time. But so we saw the Bitcoin operations, and the thing is, like, we've been here for over a week now, and I'm sorry we haven't been live streaming at all for you, but it's been so busy. Like, this is the place that everything is happening. I can't believe, as I said, that you aren't here and that we're the only ones here. You know, there's a few other people here. That there should be more people here because this is where all the vibe is happening. This is where all the action's happening, the energy. Like, if you go to the geothermal plant. By the way, the day we were there, Steve Hanke was yet in another fight with Najib Bukele over on Twitter, saying that you know, these are dead volcanoes. You're going to get no energy. We saw huge amounts of steam pluming out of the rig, which is like they drill for the steam. You know, the geothermal energy. Max, what did you feel about when you saw up at the geothermal plant?
Right. Well, as you point out, they drill for steam. Right, like they drill for oil. So they have drills. They drill into the earth, and they're looking for particular types of parts of the geological crust that are perfect for servicing a geothermal energy plant. And there are countless possibilities. They already have many wells. I think Bukele tweeted that the country's got over 100 volcanoes, actually. So it's much more than the 22 volcanoes that people were talking about a week ago or so. And they have all the technicians and the engineers here, and they've got now the ability to transform this geothermal energy into Bitcoin. And that's the thing about coming here, is that it just puts aside all of the nonsense. So the Twitter battles between people who have never been here, it's just a waste, because they've never been here, so they don't know really what they're saying. But once you're here and you see how Bitcoin is lifting up a country, in San Salvador, the major city, it's really a vibrant city. I mean, it looks exactly like Beverly Hills, to be quite honest. There's a part of it there that's indistinguishable from Beverly Hills, or that part on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, Sunset Plaza. Looks pretty much the same. You've got the hills, you've got this really happening area with restaurants and clubs, and people are out there having a great time. And it's easy to get around. Here's the El Zante, so we're at the beach. Last night we went into town for an event that took about 45 minutes or so to get there. It was pretty easy. So I think Central America is just going to reap the benefit of this revolution in a way that's remarkable.
Yeah, and so when we went into San Salvador last night, that followed on a meeting we had out here during the day with a young guy from Guatemala, and then we went into San Salvador last night for a party with a delegation from Mexico. So we saw a bunch of Mexicans, Guatemalans yesterday. So they were talking about the excitement of being here in El Salvador, and how they, as Bitcoiners, want and need El Salvador to succeed. So they came here because they want Bitcoin to succeed here. They want Bukele to succeed here because they want Bitcoin for Guatemala. They want Bitcoin for Mexico. So they know, brilliant game theory going on here, that Bukele has achieved, to get the best and the brightest to want to come here to help him succeed, help El Salvador succeed, and therefore help themselves succeed in bringing hyperbitcoinization. Hyperbitcoinization, by the way, is happening. It doesn't matter. It's not like they need to bring it to their home countries. It will happen. It's just you want to be first, as Fidelity Bank, the investment bank, just said in a report yesterday, is that every nation will have to have a Bitcoin policy. Every nation will accumulate Bitcoin. It's just whatever price they're going to end up paying. You could get it today at $43,000, $44,000, or they could get it in 4 years at $440,000. The choice is theirs. And so this is what these young people in this whole region, they're all talking about a Bitcoin, hyper-Bitcoinized region, that they want to be the first. I tweeted something along the lines like, while we've been here, is that the famous Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, and his quote about he speaks Spanish to God, and I said, now it's one speaks Spanish to Satoshi, because that is the language of hyper-Bitcoinization at the moment. They're the first. The Spanish-speaking nations are the first.
Yeah, very much so. And it's just like the call went out and Bitcoiners arrived. And as you were pointing out, there's a real sense of urgency. And they're just flocking into El Salvador, and they're really putting shoulder to the wheel and doing whatever it takes to make this a big success. So they've got the Volcano bonds coming, and laws are being passed to make that a reality. They're re-architecting the securities laws here in El Salvador to really, very interesting, of course, because, even before getting into that, when you were talking there, it reminded me, I've literally been saying for 10 years now that Bitcoin is a new asset class. So it's an electronic bearer instrument, and it's not really a stock, a bond, a currency, or a commodity. It's something completely different. It was the first new asset class to come around in hundreds and hundreds of years. And that means that every financial organization in the world has a fiduciary responsibility, or a legal responsibility, to have an opinion or to have some Bitcoin exposure. So multiply that times the $100 trillion out there that's being managed by these fiduciaries, and that's how you get to many, many multiple trillion of dollar valuations of Bitcoin. So I've been saying that for 10 years. So now Fidelity is finally kind of, echoing that sentiment, and the word is on the street. People have to have a position. They have to have Bitcoin. Countries have to have it. Corporations, institutions. So it's the game theory. So yes, as you say, people are flocking here. That they have a sense that they really need to be here and to make it a success. And that was what I took away from the event last night. People just came up to me and said, we've really got to make this all happen here. And it just, by the sound of it, I would say it's going to happen, because so many people had that on their mind. They're just like, push, push, push.
Right. And, Max and I have been around in Bitcoin since 2011. We've been through many, many, many cycles and many sort of epochs and eras of Bitcoin. We missed the first really interesting period of the 2009 and 10. But, Satoshi wasn't ready for us yet. And this period right now that began this year with El Salvador, you're just at the ground zero. This is the beginning of a new era. I think the previous 2 years, certainly, especially with global lockdown of the pandemic, and maybe the year before that. So I think like 2019, 2020, and half of 2021, what we saw then was the age of the young philosophers, the Bitcoin podcasters, all of those, dozens and dozens and dozens of podcasts, including this. Like we started Orange Pill Podcast, sponsored for you by swanbitcoin.com/orange pill. We started this during lockdown. Everybody's at home, and it was like the Bitcoin podcaster came into fruition at that period of time, and it was a fantastic era of conversation at a really important time, because in the rest of the mainstream sort of corporate media and online world, there was a lot of deplatforming and censorship and suppression of conversation. Now we're at a different period. I think it's kind of like the end of that period of everybody of the same, like 12, 24 people talking to each other in a circle, to shit happening. And you see that here. Like it's like there's no talk, there's just doing. Like everybody's doing, and it's kind of overwhelming. We're used to, for the past 2 years, just talking, right? And having conversations and philosophical conversations about what metaphor or analogy works best for Bitcoin and how to explain it. And then you arrive here and it's all these young people, like Bukele is the old man practically compared to all these like 20-something-year-olds running the Congress. It's just like amazing, especially coming from the United States, where we have like Nancy Pelosi, we have the likes of Chuck Schumer and McConnell and Biden, of course, and everybody's this old person, and we're talking about Trump versus Hillary again, these like old people and old ideas and Keynesian and failed policies. And this is a time for doing and building, and this is a place to build right here is in El Salvador.
Right. Well, what we had in the last 6 months, really, which we haven't had during the history of Bitcoin, is an outbreak of genuine inflation. So for years, people were saying, all this money printing is going to lead to inflation.
Sure.
And inflation never arrived until about, a few months ago. Then the inflation genie has come out of the bottle. And in the US, they're reporting 7% inflation. If you add back in property, people's homes, how much they're paying, inflation is 15%, which is pretty high. It's not as high as Venezuela. It's not as high as some other countries in Latin America, Argentina, or maybe in Africa, but it's getting there. And I think, we're going to see 25, 30% inflation in the United States. Now, technically, that's not by definition hyperinflation, which I believe kicks in that definition at around 40 to 50%, maybe a little higher. However, a 30% inflation rate in the United States would basically decimate the economy like a huge tsunami, just washing over the entire country and wiping out most of it. In that scenario, you see panic buying of Bitcoin. And you already see panic buying of Bitcoin in places like Turkey. You know, Turkey is now in a free fall. In Lebanon, their central bank collapsed. People are panic buying Bitcoin. So again, to emphasize, you'd rather be a day early than a day late. So if you're paying 50, 60,000 per Bitcoin and you have a pullback to the 45,000 level, it doesn't matter, because ultimately it's going to infinity versus fiat money, which always throughout history has never ever escaped a price point called zero or effective zero.
So my feeling is kind of that we'll never see like 40% inflation in the US dollar. We're going to go from this 7%, which is really 15%, to thousands of percent. You know what I mean? I don't think the reserve currency is going to have, you know, a situation of a few years of 40, 50% like some developing nation currencies can. I don't think it can happen, because once it starts to even get anywhere near there, the confidence and the faith in the currency collapses. I don't think there's like a period where the world would tolerate 40%, 50% monthly inflation. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it'll happen not monthly, but it might happen for an hour or two and then it collapses. That sort of hyperinflationary moment when it happens. But it's kind of just going to be hyperbitcoinization. I think it'll be like, I don't know, like remember when the euro was introduced and all the national currencies disappeared overnight? It's kind of going to be like that.
I guess one of the key things to look at would be the price of oil. West Texas Intermediate got to $86 a barrel. That's the highest it's been in
Brent,
7
yeah.
years. Or Brent. And we saw $149 a barrel, and that triggered part of that inflationary cycle. It triggered the Arab Spring, the revolution in Cairo, Egypt. And I think that's a key one, because of course oil is priced in dollars as part of the Bretton Woods Agreement post World War II. All commodities are priced in dollars. So if we see, I saw a report today, major banks looking for oil to get to $200 this year. So $200 a barrel oil would be very, very significant.
Right. Somebody's asking in the comments over and over, and Glenn has responded, go to bitcoinerjobs.com. That is run by swanbitcoin.com/orange pill. Swan is also responsible for publishing the Book of Max, which you can order, and you'll find, by the way, you'll find the link in our Telegram group, t.me/orange pill. That's the only Telegram group we run. It's free to join. There's no charge to join. There are lots of fakes out there charging you to, $200 to join their Telegram group. That's not us. Join those, pay that sort of money at your own peril, because we don't have anything to do with those. You'll have a link in our Telegram group, t.me/orange pill, to the Book of Max, which you can order right now, US, Canada, and Australia. Soon it'll be on amazon.co.uk for British people, and we dubbed it into Spanish, and that will be available soon as well. Thanks to Paco, did the translation there. He's right off screen, smiling. So we were saying as well about the inflation. I think you're right. That is important to note, that this has only become so apparent, even though we've been talking about it for a few years and a decade or so, like this inflation is coming. Like even the public administration the government administrations are admitting like these really high numbers, which is making extremely negative real rates, which is just destroying savers, destroying capital. Why anybody wants to destroy their capital, I don't know. That's your own choice. You want to get ripped off? Be my guest. We stack sats at Orange Pill over at swanbitcoin.com/orange pill, because why would you want to, I don't know why you would want to burn your money. Like, are you the KLF? No, you're not a rock star, are you?
No, it makes no sense, and that's the awakening people have. I mean, I understand the inertia. that people have, that they're willing to accept lower interest rates, they're willing to accept negative real rates, just because it's hard to change, it's hard to change your mindset, it's hard to accept the truth that these things are really happening. But more and more every day, people are like, you know what, I've got to really focus on this and really come to terms with the fact that my fiat money is going to zero. And I have two choices. The only one that makes sense is Bitcoin. And that choice is being made more and more every day all over the world. And that's how we get to a lot higher prices. Much higher. Much higher.
I'm going to take a photo and post it to my Twitter handle just so you can see how beautiful it is.
Yeah, do it.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
So, I mean, I learned something interesting. So when we came here, we were thinking that the rainy season was not a great season, but apparently it just rains for a few hours at night, and the rainy season is actually a nice place, nice time to be here. A lot of people prefer that season. The surfing is better, the waves are better, so you have a lot more surfing action. This is kind of not, this is great to be here, but I guess it's not prime surfing season.
Yeah, exactly. This is their summer, and then their rainy season, which begins in May, they call winter. But all of our friends here say it's like this, sunny and beautiful all day long until like 5 or 6 in the afternoon, early evening, and then it rains for a few hours, but it's done by midnight. So we're going to check it out. We're going to be here, obviously. We plan to stay here. And yes, they're very welcoming to foreigners, except for a few of the old parties that are around. They're kind of, you know, in America we have those giant, like, beer gutted old white dudes, angry ones with baseball caps at the border, like with guns, keeping Salvadorans and other people from coming in. We have the equivalent here who don't want foreigners coming here either, right? Those are from the same old ways of thinking. They don't want foreigners here. It's a minority, a very small group of people, just like those nut jobs at the border in the US. Well, you have the same thing. But by and large, like everywhere you go, people are so excited to have El Salvador at the center of the global financial community. Like, they really feel it, and they feel happy, and they feel, very proud. And you can see it in everybody's face, how proud they are.
Well, in the U.S., you have the two major parties, and there's always this back and forth that goes on between these two parties. And they've been stuck in this seesawing of power for decades and decades. In the UK, obviously, you've got the Conservatives and Labour, and they've been seesawing back and forth for decades. In Central America, you've got the left-wing socialists, and you've got more of a right-wing hardliners, and they've been in this seesaw for decades as well. And what people are understanding here is that the current president and administration with Bitcoin is a way to escape this seesaw back and forth between these two failed systems. And that's what's really exciting for folks. And so what happens is, as you point out, it's really a triumph of the millennials over the boomers. So the boomers, whether they're in the United States, in the UK, or in El Salvador, are dying out. They don't really understand Bitcoin. They don't want to take the time even to look at Bitcoin. The millennials realize this is their way out of political gridlock. And so by making it legal tender here, you essentially empowered millennials in El Salvador to take command, right? I've often said, that millennials are going to be running the world soon because of Bitcoin. Here in El Salvador, that's what's happening. Millennials run this country.
That's what I'm reading here in this book, which is pretty remarkable. Okay, it's a biography of Najib Bukele called "Quién es Najib Bukele?" and it was published in August of 2018, I guess before he ran for president, and written by a journalist named Giovanni Galleas. And it's saying exactly that. Like, it's talking about, that duopoly, those two political parties that run a lot of our economies, politics around the world. The UK has like a few like powerful third parties, but it's pretty much Labour and Conservative Tories, for decades. The U.S. only has, Republican or Democrat, and they've clearly run out of ideas, right? Like there's a staleness. You see that in the U.S., I think, in the deaths of despair. You saw that here in El Salvador with the mass migration of 3 million Salvadorans, which is like 20% of their population heading to the U.S. So I think those sort of days are over, because those are the days of fiat. Those are the days of despair. I think the days of despair are over, and then the days of relentless optimism and progress, are real progress, not like what got coined as progress with these radical socialism and stuff like that. Like this is genuine economic progress.
Yeah, absolutely. The millennials have been passed the baton, and they're young, they're eager, as young people are. And one thing about Bitcoin is that it's such perfect money that you don't have to compromise and become cynical at some point, as power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Well, Bitcoin is perfect, and perfect money is perfect forever. And so the millennials who've accepted power here in El Salvador and soon around the world can continue to think in that kind of fresh-faced, young mind. They don't need to give in to the cynicism that their parents did and their parents before them did. They can just take that relentless optimism all the way to the edge of the universe.
Well, of course, their grandparents, the boomers, had the first option. They were, a culturally powerful generation. And they had that moment, though, where they got shitcoined, right? They were offered first in on a new shitcoin called the all fiat US dollar, and they all went long, right? They bought into it. Now we have this moment of perfect money, economic freedom. And by the way, Max and I are also having an event for free. Don't ever pay us, because we are not going to DM you anywhere on any social media. We're not going to charge anybody. I don't care if you offer me $30,000, $300,000. I am not letting you in if you are not on the free wait list. So the thing is, we're having a Bitcoin is for lovers of economic freedom here in El Zante on the 11th of February. If you can make it, come down. Apparently this is going to be a big street party here. Everybody wants in on our action.
Yep, February 11th, right? It's kind of tied in with Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And it's freedom. Bitcoin is for lovers of freedom, financial freedom. And I think it'll be fantastic. This event here, this where we're sitting actually, is going to be where the salsa band and the dancing will be happening. Right down there, a few feet, is a nice road where there's a few folks that are going to be just opening up and having a bit of a street fair. We'll have some food, I would imagine. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun. The weather's going to be fantastic, and I'm looking forward to it.
We were out late at a bar with a bunch of people from all over the region, so my throat is a little bit sore, or either that or I have COVID. But I was shouting a lot over the volume of the music at the club. But that's why somebody was like, "You sound tired." I blocked them. I kicked them out of the room, and they'll never see our show again. But
yeah, I think that's the only way.
Yeah, who needs like negative Nellies? I don't. They could go back to the fiat world. There's MSNBC for them. There's CNN for them. CNN's ratings, by the way, their audience has declined by 90%.
Yeah.
Which is like so freaking cool. And you know what they're doing as a result? What are they doing this week? They're running campaigns against Joe Rogan. They're demanding that social media censor him.
Take
they
our
put
competition
warning signs,
away.
Disclaimers.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And these are the same people, by the way, who sit there and point at every other nation on earth. Mm-hmm. We want them to have free speech to everybody in their, economy.
Yeah.
Here, they're like, we don't allow free speech for Joe Rogan because he's a bad guy, but we're really free speech lovers, right?
Look, I'm happy to be tired from surfing instead of being tired.
You're not tired, you're chilled.
Working some bullshit job in the United States with a bunch of heroin addicts. That to me would be an unacceptable form of fatigue. But if you're surfing all day and then you're chilling in the afternoon, I'm perfectly happy to accept that as a nice alternative.
I think tired is definitely the wrong word. I think it's like there's so much energy here, you would not believe it. We've been waking up every morning at somewhere between 4:30 and 5:30 a.m. Like, not from an alarm, but from excitement. Like, there's so much energy here. It could be all the volcanoes under this land.
Oh, sure.
It could be all the roosters.
That was good.
Every morning. Well, I've been listening to them every morning at 4:30.
Oh, yeah.
So, the thing is, there's so much positive energy here. In a way, I don't want people to come yet because I want to get myself completely embedded and established before a whole bunch of people from around the world come. But all the people around the world here that you meet, there's every single nation here at that party last night. People from Brazil, from Mexico, from America, from Guatemala, from Honduras, Singapore. You met so many people from all over the world, and everybody wants to be here. It does feel like you showed up at the same time as Da Vinci and Michelangelo in Florence, and you're all like, hey, guys, what do you want to do?
Yeah, the meeting, the mind meld that's happening, it's all coming together. And, wow, awesome. Man, basically we said we would come to follow the Bitcoin journey, the vector that Bitcoin is on. And that's what we did. I mean, this is where the latest chapter of the Bitcoin's journey is El Salvador. So we've been doing this for 11 years, and we've witnessed pretty much every single event in this history of Bitcoin. We've met every single person, and this is kind of ground zero for the next huge wave. I think that we're in the era of El Salvador, and so this is why we're here. So hopefully we'll get another million or so people into Bitcoin. We've probably got 1 million so far. We've created hundreds of thousands of millionaires all over the world.
Well, I feel like that's like fiat cuck thinking. Like, who the fuck cares about $1 million? I don't. I care about how many Satoshis I have, and I hope you do too, because I think everybody should stack sats instead of concern themselves about how much fiat they have. Because one Satoshi is fuck you money, and that's really important. Fuck the millionaires, fuck the billionaires. You have one Satoshi fuck you money, and that's way better. And you're welcome here in El Salvador. And I think that's the future, and that's the good thing. And I think, in terms of those cycles we've seen, the thing that I really like about this latest one is I feel like, all of us boomers and Generation X that were the ones who were around, and some of the older millennials back in 2009 and 10, we weren't there, but 11, 12, 13, 14 is like, you're kind of having to drive the car. You're working, right? You're the conductor of this rocket ship. You're building the rocket ship, getting ready for a moon. And now I feel like we get to climb in back and enjoy the ride while, Bukele and the game theory he set in motion and the journey to the moon that he set in motion. I think it's a bunch of young millennials and, older people too. Anybody who's wants to join the ride and is ready to jump aboard the, building the rocket ship that's going to take us to the next level.
Yeah. I think my point is that we've always tried to be somewhere where we could get more people orange pilled. Here's the Orange Pill Podcast, and I think the place to do that right now is in El Salvador.
I think so too. What do you feel out there? When you see us here, when you hear us here, when you see our Twitter streams, when you feel the vibe, right? Some of you still might be like fiat cucks.
What?
And that's okay. You're not ready yet for the orange pill.
Jesus.
But you should go over to Rachel Maddow's show. I always encourage people to just stay there. If that's where you want to, if that's where you feel comfortable, if you'd rather take the blue pill, that's your choice. don't try to drag everybody else down with you. Don't try to taunt them with the steak. Come have Rachel Maddow's steak, her juicy steak, right?
Yeah. It's total. Well, as you say, the ratings are collapsed, down 90%.
Yeah.
At CNN, and they're trying to get Joe Rogan deplatformed because they hate the competition. They don't want the competition. That's one of the reasons why there's so many problems, is that America is based on free markets and competition. And when you remove competition from speech, you remove it from business, you remove it from the society, you end up with you end up with the lowest possible functioning units of consumers fed by fiat money, and that's sad to see, but that's what's happened. Sad to see. So Joe Rogan is really like the last man standing. He's actually, presenting a worthwhile show that talks to important people, and they discuss stuff, and it's an idea. It's a market of ideas, and if there's a lot of ideas, when you start to censor people, you start to remove the competition from the market of ideas. So this idea that was before that seemed like, oh, that's a counter idea to this idea. How do I balance these two ideas? If you remove one for political reasons and for psychologically deranged reasons, then the remaining idea looks outsized by comparison, and then people panic and they say, oh, we got to remove that idea as well. Okay, so then all the ideas are being removed except the state-sanctioned idea. Okay, that's called fascism or communism or whatever you want to call it, and sadly, that's what you got over there.
Well, it's interesting to watch the Streisand effect, of course. All their complaining and whinging is just driving even what remains of their audience. Like, if you tune into some dreary, depressed person who wants you to be filled with despair, filled with fear the Russians, fear the Chinese, fear the Iranians, fear the Venezuelans, fear the Salvadorans, fear everybody out there, stay home, buy all the products Rachel Maddow's selling you, though you can't buy the Lockheed Martin missiles, of course. That's for who knows, like the audience for that ad, who knows. Anyway, they are pushing all this fear, and then when they start to fear even more, like this guy named Joe Rogan, there's going to be maybe like 1% that are savable, and they might be like, who's this Joe Rogan? I'm going to go Google it. Mm-hmm. And then they exit the Rachel Maddow audience. And you can see it in their numbers, yes.
Right, yep, absolutely. So, and that's why so many people are now flocking into Bitcoin and flocking to this region, flocking to El Salvador. There's a lot of folks that are just, I meet them, they're just coming here. And they want to be part of like a startup nation, an up-and-coming nation. With great leadership. It's kind of like America in the 1950s, maybe, when it was, a very exciting place to be post-war. You had a lot of folks built the country. You had the so-called American century. Okay, that was a long time ago. So now we've got
long time ago.
21st century, and it's a whole new ball game.
Whole new ball game. I'm gonna look at your questions, see if you have any questions before we have to go, because I need like a drink or something to get rid of this COVID or my cough, my dry throat, talking too much. It's like nonstop talk. Like people here, I have to tell you, you have to come here. Like if you have any, if you're an interesting person, if you're not like a gloomy downer, like we don't want you, nobody wants you. Like it's not the vibe here. It's like really energetic, really optimistic, and really excited and engaged and enthusiastic for the future. So if you have something to teach people, they're totally open for it. And they want to hear you, they want to meet you. We've had loads of meetings with all sorts of people across the government. Everybody, like despite all that FUD that Anita Posch had spread, for example, she's the one, I mean, she's, amusingly, she was the one that started that whole claim that these volcanoes are dead and therefore there's no way to use the geothermal energy. But that, because of that, it led to the Steve Hanke Najib Bukele fight, which Bukele just like crushed him, right, in such a humiliating way. It was great. But she also spread that FUD that somehow the government is not interested in at all in education. And that's like half of our meetings have been about that. They're like, they're really spending a lot of time and effort on devising and building up a plan for education. So just realize that you're going to see a lot of FUD. You're going to see a lot of FUD, especially leading up to Miami Bitcoin 2022, because like Rachel Maddow and CNN are super jealous of Joe Rogan. Certain really, really old leaders with old ideas and failed policies are equally really, really envious and jealous of a more popular rock star sort of president who dared to hyper-Bitcoinize his economy. That's my opinion, and I'm always right.
Well, it's like John F. Kennedy, dared the country to go to the moon,
Yes.
And he said, we'll go to the moon within a decade. He dared them,
Yes.
We go there not because it's easy, but because it's hard.
Yes.
So, Bukele is daring his country and daring the world to go on a hyper-Bitcoin standard. And it's like one of those incredible moments in history.
And we're here. That's why we're here. It's like being at one of these important moments in history. The early moments of Florence, or being there with all the Enlightenment thinkers, like before the revolution, as they built up these ideas for the huge revolutions that followed.
Yep. Well, that's what's happening. But anyway, so many people are coming, which is nice. So we have this event on February 11th. It's the Bitcoin is for lovers of economic freedom, and it's going to be like a street party, salsa band, some food, right here on this area that you see here. That's good. Couple of pools happening. So we got that happening. We got
Pupus. No, we won't have pupusas maybe. There's pupusas all over the place. Just walk out the side door over there.
Plenty of pupusas.
Plenty of pupusas. We're going to have a unique cocktail. Maybe it'll be introduced then at the event, February 11th. Bitcoin is for lovers of economic freedom. La libertad. Economica. I'm just doing that for Paco. Wow. He likes to see us mangle. I'm reading this book in Spanish, this Bukele book, and I've been carrying it everywhere. You see, I'm not getting too far because of my Spanish comprehension. I struggle, but I'm doing a good job. I'm like 3, 4, 5 chapters in maybe. And now I'm like, it's all wrecked from all my carrying it around everywhere. And
yes.
I had hoped to have him sign it.
It would be impressive because it looks like you really read it.
It looks like I really read it.
Yeah.
Right. And one more thing I have to say, the coffee in this country is so freaking good.
Yeah.
How good is this coffee that we have every morning here?
No, it's awesome. I think El Salvadorian coffee is rated like 1 or 2 in the world. It's incredible. It's fantastic.
I think that's part of the reason when I hear the roosters crow at 4:30 in the morning, I'm like, all right, it's time for coffee. And then I have to wait like 3 hours. I'm like, God damn it, I can't take this anymore. I need my coffee.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it is good. Speaking of coffee, I'm ready for a cup right now.
Right. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to look for your questions. Damn, nice hair. Stacy's mom has got it going on. The most expensive pupusas ever? I don't know what that means. Unless you're talking to a fake Max Kaiser who's trying to send you one for like $500.
Yeah. I got your pupusas, $500.
Love you guys, Max and Stacy, and much love to all my fellow Maxis out there. Stacy has beach hair. That's true. It's getting pretty blonde, and I've got to have it cut.
Yeah.
But you get the waves in El Salvador. They're they're world famous for surfers. Okay, those are surfing waves. So be prepared to get pummeled.
Yeah, Satoshi original name for Bitcoin was Stacy's hair, but they settled on Bitcoin instead. But the original name that Satoshi was considering for this incredible bearer digital asset that's changing the world was Stacy's hair.
It's true. Not many people know that because they weren't around in early Bitcoin, but
Yeah.
that was in the Bitcoin talk chats. Go onto Twitter and ask. Ask.
That's
them.
why Mike Hearn rage quit.
That's why he rage quit.
7 years ago today, I believe, when
Yes.
Bitcoin was like $400 or $500. He said it was never going to work.
362.
Never going to work. I'm going to rage quit. I'm selling all my Bitcoin. It should have been Stacy's hair. That was the name that Satoshi wanted, but instead he went with Bitcoin. So I'm Mike Hearn. I'm going to rage quit. I'm going to sell all my Bitcoin at $350 a coin, and I never heard from him again.
Well, before we go, I'll mention something about the Mike Hearn thing. Is like, these sort of epochs of Bitcoin time. I remember in Bitcoin, 1 hour equals 7 years on Fiat time. But back then, the thing is, it was a much smaller community. There was no Bitcoin Twitter. There was no, it was more dominated by those core devs, right?
It was also on this day that the white paper for Lightning was introduced.
That's right. But back then, it was like more dominated by the core devs. Because people assumed that Bitcoin was technology. They didn't realize it was money and life and love and philosophy. Back then we thought it was technology, so the technologists, the cryptographers, we were in awe of. So when the likes of Mike Hearn, rage quit, and there were a few others around the same time, when they rage quit, like it was like really terrifying, right? Like it felt like
well, we made a lot of fun of it. I remember on the Kaiser Report, we made fun of Mike Hearn because he was obviously a lunatic. But nevertheless, the project continued to do what it was meant to do, as we recognized it was to do in 2011. It's continuing, and it's transforming this particular country, and that's exciting. So exciting.
Right. So it's time to wrap up. If anybody's interested, should I have this translated into English? If you were interested in learning. I'm learning some things about his Bukele's background, and it's quite interesting. But maybe you'd rather just try to read it in Spanish, and maybe you wouldn't bother reading it in English. So whatever. But you could go buy the Book of Max. Make sure to join our Telegram group, t.me/orange pill. Just follow the correct one. Don't pay to join any Telegram group with us. Don't pay to attend our February 11th event down in El Zante. The book is $30. That covers the cost of like printing it and stuff like that. Don't pay $300 or whatever, to the scammers. And yeah, that's it. Do you have any final words, Max?
The Book of Max is out. It's a lot of fun. Pick up a copy. Bring it with you to Bitcoin 2022 in Miami. I'll be happy to sign it for you. And that's about it.